Leadership law number 9, the law of magnetism. Who you are is who you attract. Effective leaders are always on the lookout for good people. I think each of us carries around a mental list of what kind of people we would like to have in our organization or department. Think about it. Do you know who you're looking for right now? What is your profile of a perfect employee? What qualities would that person possess? Would you want them to be aggressive and entrepreneurial, kind and compassionate? How about technically savvy, highly relational? Stop right now. Now, just take a moment. Make a list of the qualities you'd like in the people on your team. Find a pencil or pen and do it now before I read you any more of the chapter. Now, what will determine whether the people you want are the people you get, whether they will possess the qualities that you desire? You may be surprised by the answer. Believe it or not, who you attract is not determined by what you want, it's determined by who you are. Go back to the list that you just made, and for each characteristic that you identified, decide whether you possess that quality. For example, if you wrote that you would like great leaders and you're an excellent leader, well, now that's a match. You can put a check beside that one. But if your leadership is no better than average, then maybe you need to put an X and write only average leader next to it. You see, if you wrote that you want people who are entrepreneurial and you possess that quality, again, you put a check, and if you don't possess it, put an X beside it, and kind of just, review the list. You see, if you have a bunch of X's, then you're in trouble because the people you describe are not the type who will want to follow you. In most situations, unless you have taken strong measures to counteract it, you draw people to you who possess the same qualities that you do. That's the law of magnetism. Who you are is who you attract. When I was a kid, my mother used to tell me that birds of a feather flock together. She sometimes said it to warn me away from bad influences, but even as a child, I think I instinctively recognized that good students spend time with good students, athletes with other athletes, leaders with leaders, and I've seen it play out during my entire adult life too. In 2011, I co-founded an organization called the John Maxwell Team to prepare entrepreneurs to become independent coaches, trainers, and speakers. Not everyone in my other organizations believed that it could be successful. One skeptic stated his belief that we would never recruit more than a couple hundred people. But I, along with a few others, were convinced that we would attract many people who crave success in these areas. Why? Because I had always been entrepreneurial in my thinking, and I'd spent more than 40 years dedicated to learning, growing, and working as a speaker, trainer, and a coach. And I was convinced that other people who had similar aspirations would be attracted to our organization and the training that we would provide. Now, I'm glad to say that the organization has been highly successful, and in 10 years, we've attracted and trained 40,000 entrepreneurs to become coaches, trainers, and speakers. In fact, many have joined our organization because they initially learned from some of our coaches and they wanted to become certified themselves. Our trainers come in ready to learn, and they're hungry for success. Our faculty teaches them skills, but they also teach them the values that are important to us that we want them to carry with them as they coach others and as they speak. So I sit down with all of our people and I share with them what our values are. Valuing people, maintaining a positive attitude, growing daily, leading by example, living with intentionality, exceeding clients' expectations, equipping others, becoming catalysts for transformation, and even leaving some room in their life for faith. When we teach these values, everyone at the training knows that if they don't want to embrace these values, we'll refund their money with no hard feelings, and they can seek out a different training that appeals to them. As far as I know, no one has ever declined our values and asked for a refund. And I'm glad to say that the people we train go out and they add value to people in more than 160 countries all around the world. Maybe you have started thinking about the people you have attracted in your organization. You might say to yourself, wait a minute, I can name 20 things that make the people I lead different from me. And my response would be, of course you can. We're all individuals. But the people who are drawn to you probably have more similarities than differences, especially in a few key areas. For example, generation. Most organizations reflect the characteristics of their key leaders, and that includes their age. During the dot-com boom in the 1990s, thousands of companies were founded by people in their 20s and early 30s. And who did they hire? Others in their 20s and 30s. In just about any type of organization, much of the time, the people come on board are similar in age to the leaders who hire them. Attitude. Rarely have I seen positive and negative people attracted to one another. People who view life as a series of opportunities and exciting challenges don't want to hear others complain about how bad things are all the time. Attitude is one of the most contagious qualities a human being possesses. People with good attitudes tend to make people around them feel more positive. Those with terrible attitudes tend to bring others down. Background. In the chapter on the law process, I wrote about Theodore Roosevelt. One of his memorable accomplishments was his daring charge up San Juan Hill with the Rough Riders during the Spanish-American War. Roosevelt personally recruited that all-volunteer army, and it was said to be a remarkably peculiar group of people. It was comprised primarily of two types of men: wealthy aristocrats from the Northeast and cowboys from the Wild West. Why? Because TR was aristocratic-born, Harvard-educated New Yorker who turned himself into a real-life cowboy and a big-game hunter in the Dakotas of the West. He was a strong, genuine leader in both worlds, and as a result, he attracted both kinds of people. People attract and are attracted to others of similar background. Blue-collar workers tend to stick together. People with education tend to respect and value others who are also well-educated. And to be blunt, people tend to hire employees of the same race unless they make an intentional effort to break that pattern. That's why the NFL introduced the Rooney Rule, which requires teams to interview at least one minority candidate for every head coaching position. This natural magnetism is so strong that organizations that value diversity have to fight against it. Values. People are attracted to leaders whose values are similar to theirs. Think about the people who flocked to President John F. Kennedy after he was elected in 1960. He was a young idealist who wanted to change the world, and he attracted people with a similar profile. When he formed the Peace Corps and called people to service, saying, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country," thousands of young, idealistic people stepped forward to answer the challenge. The law of magnetism is in effect whether the shared values are positive or negative. Think about someone like Adolf Hitler. He was a strong leader, as you can judge by his level of influence, but his values were rotten to the core. What kind of people did he attract? Leaders with similar values. Joseph Goebbels, a bitter anti-Semite who ran Hitler's propaganda machines. Reinhard Heydrich, second in command of the Nazi secret police, who ordered mass executions of Nazi opponents. And Heinrich Himmler, chief of the SS and director of the Gestapo, who initiated the systematic execution of Jews. They are all strong leaders, and they were all utterly evil men. The law of magnetism is powerful. Whatever character you possess is what you will find in the people who follow you. Energy. It's a good thing that people with similar levels of energy are attracted to one another, because when you pair a high-energy person with a low-energy person, and ask them to work closely together, they can drive one another crazy. The high-energy person thinks the low-energy one is lazy, and the low-energy person thinks the high-energy one is out of control. Giftedness. People are most likely to respect and follow someone who possesses their kind of talent. Business people want to follow leaders with the skill in building an organization and making a profit. Football players want to follow coaches who can win championships. Creative people want to follow other creatives who are willing to think outside the box. Like does attract like. Leadership ability. Finally, the people you attract will have leadership abilities similar to your own. As I said in discussing the law of respect, people naturally follow leaders stronger, better than themselves. But you also have to factor in the law of magnetism, which states that who you are is who you attract. So if you are a 7 when it comes to leadership, you're more likely to draw 5s and 6s to you than 2s and 3s. The leaders you attract will be similar in style and ability to you. The law of magnetism is a double-edged sword. If you've never done more than go with the flow, you'll attract others like you. However, if you've worked hard, developed your skills, leveraged your talent, and achieved success, you will attract similarly driven and successful people. But they may be so much like you that your team has serious holes and blind spots that work against you. As you read this chapter, which of these two situations do you find yourself in? Are you saying to yourself, I'm not crazy about the people I'm attracting? Am I stuck with my situation? The answer is no. If you are dissatisfied with the leadership ability of the people you are attracting, then embrace the law of process and work to increase your leadership skill. If you want to grow an organization, grow the leader. If you find the people you attract to be unreliable or untrustworthy, then examine your character. Developing strong character can be a more difficult road, but the payoff is huge. Good character improves every aspect of your life. On the other hand, you may be saying, I like who I am. I like the kind of people that I attract. That's great. Now take the next step in effective leadership. Work at recruiting people who are different from you. Hire people different from you with strengths where you are weak. Someone who both used the law of magnetism and needed to fight against it to be successful was Angela Arntz, the former senior vice president of retail at Apple and CEO of Burberry. In 2006, when Arntz accepted the job at Burberry, she left a job she loved as an executive vice president at fashion company Liz Claiborne. The main reason she left was because she wanted a chance to work with a luxury brand, but Burberry was a brand that was in trouble. The organization had a long history, founded in 1856 by Thomas Burberry. The company took off when the founder invented gabardine, a breathable, weatherproof fabric that revolutionized rainwear. After outfitting explorers such as Roald Amundsen and Ernest Shackleton, the reputation of Burberry's patented gabardine took off. The coats made of fabric were so hard-wearing and useful that the British Army gave Burberry a contract to manufacture them during World War I. Those coats came to be known as trench coats. Humphrey Bogart wore a Burberry trench coat in Casablanca, and forms of that coat are still in style today. Despite Burberry's notoriety and success and the reception of 2 royal warrants, the company was no longer a respected brand. Where they once produced high-end apparel, for years Burberry had sold their name through dozens of licenses to manufacturers around the world who produced all manner of non-luxury products, including doggy diapers with Burberry's patented and once revered plaid design. Arntz was determined to turn Burberry around and to make it not only respected again, but appealing to younger buyers. She also wanted to make it the largest luxury fashion brand in the world. Fortunately, already working at Burberry was a designer that she had worked with and greatly respected, Christopher Bailey. She partnered with him to set Burberry in a new direction. We really reconnected, and we actually put the strategy together on the back of a napkin, said Arntz. She saw a clear way forward. She would reinforce our heritage, our Britishness, by emphasizing and growing our core luxury products, innovating them, and keeping them at the heart of everything we did. Because Arntz was now leading a large staff, whom she had not herself attracted, she needed to work to get everyone on board. I have to admit that some managers were cynical. A lot of them had been at Burberry for a really long time. So she came up with a solution. She said maybe 6 months in, we had a huge off-site meeting, and we had 200 of the top executives from around the world who flew in. I'm a pretty good read of people. My right brain kicks in, and I'm just watching. And this was for 2 or 3 days, and at the very end, I got up and I said, look, this is the strategy. This is what we're doing. And I know that some of you are skeptical, and I know you've been here for a long time, and I know the way you think you're doing it in Hong Kong or Korea is the best, but it's not. We won't win. We're not winning now, and you're not, right? And I said, so I'm happy to meet with you after this meeting and give you the greatest retirement package. I'm not looking to hurt anybody, but you need to walk out of here 100% believing in everything that we're doing, or I don't want you on the team. And I will take care of you. But we can't afford it. We have no time. Another significant thing she did was facilitate changes to Burberry's board. Most of its members were older, and since Arntz wanted the brand to become more tech-savvy and appeal to younger customers, especially millennials, she put younger people on the board and asked the older members who were stepping off to mentor them. The move struck a great balance between attracting and empowering people more like herself while harnessing the wisdom and experience of those who served the company before her, and she hired a younger staff. In 2013, she noted that most of the employees at their corporate headquarters in London were under 30. In 2014, Arntz left the company to work for Apple. In the 8 years Arntz led Burberry as a CEO, the company's stock price doubled. So did revenue and operating income. According to Interbrand, Burberry was the fastest-growing luxury brand and the fourth fastest-growing brand globally, behind Apple, Google, and Amazon. Once you understand the law of magnetism, you can see it at work in just about any kind of situation: business, government, sports, education, the military, and more. And once you embrace it, you can use it to improve your team and organization. How do people you are currently attracting look to you? Are they the strong, capable, potential leaders that you desire? Or could they be better? Remember, their quality depends less on a hiring process, a human resources department, or even what you consider to be the quality of your area's applicant pool. It depends more on you. Who you are is who you attract. That's the law of magnetism. If you want to attract better people, become the kind of person that you desire. When I think of the law of magnetism, I think back at the days when I was a pastor. For 25 years, I pastored congregations, and the last one was in San Diego, California. And I followed the founding pastor, who had been there for 34 years. By the time I became lead pastor, I was 33, so he founded the church before I was born. When I came to that church, I found that it was just full of gifted musicians. They had phenomenal writers. They had phenomenal bands, and it seemed like everybody was a musician. The founding pastor, a good, wonderful man, Orville Butcher, was himself a highly gifted Irish tenor. Sang incredibly, played the piano magnificently, just a gifted musician. And so what I discovered was, very interestingly, people that loved music were attracted to that church. Now, when I came 34 years later, I'm not a gifted musician at all. Trust me, I'm a gifted leader. Over the next 4 to 5 years, I watched the type of people who were attracted to the church change. Now, we still had a great music department, but I began to attract business people. I began to attract entrepreneurs. I began to attract leaders. Within 6, 7 years, there was a shift that had pretty much been completed. We went from attracting incredibly gifted musicians to attracting incredibly gifted leaders. Why? The law of magnetism. You attract who you are, not who you want. As I think back at that incredible experience, I look at people, I look at leaders, and I say to them 2 things. One is, because of the law of magnetism, you will attract people like yourself. And number 2, you have to be very intentional to attract and appeal to different people. You want diverse people with backgrounds, experiences. This is what you want. And how you attract them is to put different leaders in your organization that are different than you and let them recruit the people to the team. Here's what I've said. I want diversity in education, background, all of the things that we want to have people be different than ours. Giftedness, talents, I want that. But I want everybody to be united with vision and values. Where we're going, I want them to be all on the same page. What we value, I want them to embrace that. So the law of magnetism and values and vision will serve you well. But you have to be intentional to bring other people that are not like you into your and onto your team, because it's natural for you to get people just like yourself. You want people to complement you, to complete your giftedness by having other gifts so that you can be a whole team. That's what makes the best organizations.